Alright, so I've been playing Realm Royale since the PTS launched, and I've been playing through all the different patches, and at first I didn't like it, and as they've started adding things to the game and polishing some bits of it, I've actually started to really enjoy it. So today I'm going to talk to you about some things I think Hi-Rez should do with Realm Royale if they want it to not only survive, but also thrive once the Battle Royale craze is over. Let's talk about this. The gameplay featured here is brought to you by Player One Coffee. Coffee made by gamers, for gamers. Use the link in the description to get 5% off any of your purchases. Hey everybody, what's going on? Brandon here, and yes, I know it is Sunday, but I decided to go ahead and upload a video yesterday and today because, well, my wife has to get surgery tomorrow, and I just wanted to make sure I can take care of her, and I'm not spending all day trying to cut and edit together some videos. So, let's get started with this. As most of you know, I have a pretty big distrust for Hi-Rez Studios, mostly because of what they've done with Paladins, with OB64, Cards Unbound, and especially the VIP system, which turned more focus onto microtransactions and premium currency, rather than bugs. So if you've seen any of my older Paladins videos, you already know that. But they've actually started winning me back, at least slowly and surely, because they've actually removed Cards Unbound, removed VIP, and they've put more focus on polishing the game, as well as releasing Realm Royale, which was a more balanced version of their Paladins Battlegrounds that didn't actually have the heroes. Instead, you have your own custom characters. Now, I've actually been playing the PTS since it initially launched, and I've got to admit, when it first launched and I got into it, I played like 3 matches, and I absolutely hated it. The mechanics were kind of clunky, aiming was weird, it felt off, controls felt just kind of different. And there was nothing that really set it apart from games like PUBG or Fortnite. I mean, there was no reason for me to say, okay, well, I want to play a Battle Royale game. Man, I really want to play Realm Royale. And there just wasn't. Now, I stuck with it, and after they kept updating it and kept updating it. And now, recently, they've added a class system, which, you know, Assassin, Warrior, and Engineer, and it says Mage and Hunter is coming. And that sets it up just enough to where it is different. And it has more of a fantasy RPG feel, and especially in squads, and that's where this game really thrives, is because people can play certain roles and play their roles together and work off each other's strengths and off each other's classes. And I really enjoy this, and I think this is the direction they need to go. So I've got a few ideas that they could add to this that I think would really not only just help the game get even more player base, but just help it become its own thing to where it's not having to worry about competing with PUBG and Fortnite, and it can really stand on its own. I also want to go ahead and say this is a concept that I came up with. This isn't something official from Hi-Rez. This is just something I think they should do, and that is races. Now, as you can see in the image above, this is a concept image that I created, basically just repurposing the character select screen. So rather than selecting a character from Paladins, because Realm Royale uses the same basic engine, repurposing the character select scene for a race select scene. Then when you select your race, just like when you select your character, you get the little bar at the bottom that will ask you to, you know, choose your cosmetics. Have that to where you can choose your gender, and then change different cosmetics that maybe you've bought with like microtransactions and premium currency. The mount you can leave the same because there are mounts in Realm Royale, so you could also have, you know, custom mounts like the Fire Horse or the Ice Mount. So yeah, that's one thing I think they should add, because if you have different races in the game that have different advantages and disadvantages, you can really see a bunch of interesting teams come together. You could see different people playing different ways, trying to find the best class and the best race mixed together with the best skill set, and I think it would just add to the team element of it and make it set itself apart even farther beyond other, you know, Battle Royale games like Fortnite, PUBG, H1Z1, and it's got its own thing. And the biggest reason I think they should add something like this into the game is because look at the type of people that aren't playing games like PUBG and Fortnite. You got your players that are playing World of Warcraft, Neverwinter, other big fantasy MMOs like Black Desert Online. You know, you have a lot of people that play all these MMORPGs that don't really get into the Battle Royale game because, I mean, they're nothing like their fantasy RPGs. They don't fill that same void. They're not in that same world. But if you have a game like this that kind of feels like it's in that realm, it's in that world, it's fantasy, you have your different races, you have your different classes, and then you have your own type of Battle Royale game that's never been done before. And you're going to bring in a whole new crowd of players. So not only are you worrying about, you know, are you going to get the players from PUBG, or are you going to get the players from Fortnite? Because the game sets itself off enough to where you can be somebody that likes to play PUBG, you can be somebody that likes to play Fortnite, and still say, well, I'm in the mood for something different, but I still want to play Battle Royale, and then go over to Realm Royale. I mean, it sets itself off enough to do that. especially if you add these other changes that will help make the game even more different. You can still keep that crowd that likes the Battle Royale game, because they will go to Realm Royale, not necessarily because they're tired of Fortnite or they're tired of PUBG, just because it's something different. It fills the void, and then it gives them something new. So you get that option. You get to steal the players away from PUBG and Fortnite, even if it's only, for a day here and a day there. You're getting those players, but you're also bringing in a whole new class of players that never play Fortnite or PUBG because they're just not into those games. So I think the race system is something that definitely needs to be implemented. I would like to see it done. I think, don't take the screenshot up on the screen as, science. I just made rough estimates on what I would do with the buffs. I didn't even remotely think about balance. I just kind of, just winged it whenever I wrote those on there. So this is just a concept picture, not really anything to say, well, that wouldn't work because the balance doesn't make any sense. But anyway, I would like to see that put into the game. Another thing I would do would just be get rid of the blimp altogether. You drop out of a blimp the same way you drop out of a plane or off the battle bus in Fortnite and PUBG. I would just get rid of the blimp altogether. The map's not big enough to really need it. You can get to wherever you're going to go from the blimp. The map's not huge, and the same way you would show your team members where you're wanting to go, I would just use that. And instead of having a wait lobby, have a wait lobby, but have your team members and you be able to mark the map where you're wanting to drop at. And then instead of you just dropping out of the blimp and go there, have it like teleport you there when the match starts. I think that would be a better way to go about it. And if by some chance one of your team members didn't choose a spot, just have it teleport them to the nearest team member, or whoever happens to be at the top of the list, or just a random team member. Just put them in the same area with them and drop them at the same spot, because there's really no point in having the blimp. It's more of a resource to have, all these players dropping out of it. It's not really resource intensive, but I'm sure it takes a lot more resource than to just have a player spawn somewhere on the map and just say they teleported there. So I would rather use that. It's sort of like the blink ability. I'm sure they can implement it into the game, and it just saves time and energy rather than dropping out of the blimp and landing somewhere on the map, because you can get to anywhere you want to go from the blimp, so there's really not a point in it. And also another thing is, because when you drop out of the blimp, you don't have parachutes or anything, you just hit the ground and the ground cracks underneath you. That eliminates fall damage. There's places you could fall off of in this game that I think you should be able to have fall damage, and because this blimp thing's implemented into the game and you can land without taking any damage, it makes it to where you can't take any fall damage from any height. So getting rid of the blimp entirely and adding fall damage, I think, is the way to go. And last but not least, the one thing that can help this game survive and thrive would be just to pay attention to your community. If the developers are watching this and you are one of the people that work on this game, just, don't make the same mistake that was made back pre-OB64, and don't just not listen to your community. Focus on bugs, focus on polishing the game, and listen to your community, because, if you make your customers happy, they will want to spend more. And, the biggest problem with what Paladins did, with what happened with Paladins, is that no longer a lot of people don't want to spend any money in the game, because you've hurt their trust, and that you don't want that to happen with this game. Now, I don't know how much money I will spend on any high-res game in the future because of what happened with OB64. So you don't want that to happen with this game. You want to try to win back some of the people that, are still kind of upset, and you've started to win me back slowly. But you also want to make sure your new customers, you don't do to them what happened with OB64, with Cards Unbound. You want to make sure that you're listening to your community and you're not taking advantage of anybody that's putting their faith and their trust in you and your game. So that's the best thing you can do to make sure this game survives. These are just a couple ideas that I had, and hope maybe you guys will listen to them. If you want to hear more, just shoot me a private message or get a hold of me on Twitter. It don't really matter. But that's all the time I got for today, and I will see you guys next time.